Okay, let's unpack this. We often assume that as consumers, we're these rational actors.
Right.
We weigh the pros and cons, we check the reviews, compare prices. But the reality, across almost every industry, is that our decisions are shockingly irrational.
They're driven by feeling, not fact.
Exactly. Now, imagine a sector where the stakes are elevated from, buying a new blender to fundamentally altering how you see yourself in the mirror.
And that's exactly where the world of aesthetic medicine operates. The vulnerability is just sky high. And because of that, the emotional drivers are exponentially stronger.
So for this deep dive, we've been immersed in some really specialized source material, all centered around the insights of Dr. Ari Masudi.
He has a really interesting background.
He does.
Started as a regenerative medicine researcher and then completely pivoted into being a business consultant.
And he runs this masterclass aimed, squarely at ambitious aesthetic medicine practitioners, the ones who want to move beyond that purely transactional model.
And that really defines our mission for this deep dive. We're extracting the core principles of what he calls the emotional revolution in aesthetic practice.
It's all about how these clinics can stop competing on price, right? How to escape what he calls the commodity trap.
Exactly, and instead command premium fees while building this fierce, enduring loyalty.
It sounds like a lofty goal, but the data he presents is, well, it's absolutely brutal. So for the practitioner out there who's frustrated that their state-of-the-art laser, which costs a small fortune, isn't generating a state-of-the-art profit, where does the diagnosis even begin?
It begins with acknowledging a central finding from behavioral science, and it's one that's often ignored in these, technically focused fields.
Okay.
The source material highlights that a staggering 95% of all purchase decisions happen subconsciously. They're guided by emotion, not by purely rational logic.
95%. That means only 5 cents of every dollar spent is guided by the features list.
Precisely. And when you move into a field as personal and as high stakes as aesthetic medicine, where fear of judgment and the desire for this profound change just intersect, that emotional percentage goes even higher.
And that leads directly to what he calls the fatal mistake that most clinics make.
Which is that they sell technical procedures and features, not feelings and outcomes.
I see this constantly. They list out the features. Board-certified dermatologist, 20 years of experience.
Latest FDA-approved neurotoxins, high-wattage laser devices.
Yes, all of that.
These are rational arguments, and you're trying to win a primarily emotional sale. It just doesn't work. Rational features only invite comparison shopping.
That's a great point.
If Clinic A and Clinic B both shout 20 years of experience, the patient is forced to differentiate on the only metric left.
Price or distance.
And just like that, you've willingly placed yourself in the commodity trap.
Right. And, okay, so here's where my skeptical listener proxy voice comes in. Wait a minute. If 95% of the decision is emotional, does that mean technical skill is almost irrelevant?
Ah, that's the critical tension.
How do we square that with, ethical, high-quality medicine?
That's what this revolution addresses. Technical skill is the price of entry. It's expected. It's non-negotiable, but it is not the differentiator.
Okay.
The differentiator is the clinic's ability to identify and then resolve the patient's emotional tension. A 45-year-old considering Botox, she isn't mentally reviewing the doctor's certifications.
No, she's asking, will I look refreshed without looking obviously done, which is a fear of social judgment.
Exactly. And will this investment finally help me feel confident again, which is that core desire for transformation?
That's the key. They aren't buying hyaluronic acid concentration. They're buying the relief of not having to worry about how tired they look in the mirror.
And loyalty is built on that emotional resolution. It far outweighs the perceived technical quality or, frankly, the actual price tag.
So the immediate fix that Dr. Masudi recommends is something he calls emotional benefit mapping.
Right, and it's an exercise that forces a clinic to look outward instead of inward.
The instruction is just genius in its simplicity. You interview 5 recent patients, and you ask them one core question.
Describe the exact moment when you decided to book with us. What were you feeling right before, during, and after that decision?
You take that data, and you identify the top 3 emotional drivers. Maybe it's relief from self-criticism, maybe safety from judgment,
or control over the aging process, and then you rewrite every single piece of your messaging to speak directly to those feelings.
Which has to be incredibly difficult for practitioners who are, they're scientists, they're highly technical.
Oh, it's profoundly difficult because it requires them to stop talking about molecules and start talking about feelings.
Let's really illustrate this transformation because the contrast is phenomenal. The traditional rational language just kills premium premium pricing.
Okay, so traditional approach. We use the latest FDA-approved neurotoxins.
So clinical.
The strategic emotional approach. Reclaim the vibrant version of yourself that you see in your mind.
That's practically poetry compared to a product label. Or another one, the rational boast. Our clinic has 20 years of experience.
You pivot that to experience the peace of mind that comes from being in the safest, most discreet hands in the city.
See, that immediately shifts the focus from the doctor's biography to the patient's anxiety. You're offering them an emotional payoff peace of mind before they even walk in.
Right away, you've completely changed how the practice is viewed. You're no longer just a vendor executing a procedure.
You are now a purveyor of crucial emotional outcomes: relief, pride, confidence, safety.
And this framework, it demolishes what he calls the myth of technical superiority.
Because patients just can't evaluate technical claims.
They can't. They don't know if your device is actually the best. They can only evaluate how your clinic makes them feel when they're at their most vulnerable.
This shift is what the source material calls the 2026 shift.
It's the industry moving away from a purely transactional fixing mindset. I have a line, you fix the line.
To a nurturing, holistic, and kind of regenerative inside-out partnership approach.
And this isn't just philosophical. It's financially mandatory for future growth. The global aesthetic market is projected to grow by, 15% annually through 2028?
But there's a huge demographic challenge.
A massive one. Millennials and Gen Z are the largest patient base now, and their brand loyalty is notoriously low. We're talking only about 25%, according to some of the research saw.
So to capture that growth, you have to build devotion.
And devotion is a purely emotional construct.
So the goal then becomes resolving that emotional tension. Let's dive deep into the London clinic case study from the material, because this is where the theory just, it hits the road.
Okay, so this clinic specialized in injectables, and through this emotional mapping process, they realized their patients weren't prioritizing looking younger.
What was it then?
The primary emotional need was social safety. They were terrified of looking done, of being judged by friends, or having their partner notice. It was a profound fear of social exposure.
So their branding was all wrong. It was focused on this bold transformation, which was actually triggering their patients' deepest anxiety.
Completely. So they pivoted their entire strategy and brand identity to the art of the invisible.
Now that tactical implementation here is just brilliant.
To deliver social safety, they redesigned the physical experience. Consultation rooms used specialized indirect lighting, deliberately mimicking soft, natural outdoor light.
So patients saw themselves as they would in real life, not under some harsh clinical fluorescence.
Exactly. And the discretion guarantee became really concrete. No clinic-branded bags were allowed out the door.
The aftercare was packaged generically.
And they even introduced a 2-week reveal protocol. The results were intentionally subtle at first to manage the patient's expectation that no one should notice immediately.
They engineered every single micro-moment to say, we guarantee discretion and natural results.
And the results were staggering. Their average patient lifetime value tripled. Their treatment plan acceptance rates jumped 40% higher. Because they successfully sold the feeling of safety and seamless integration into social life, not just the procedure.
That's the difference right there between being a vendor and being a trusted partner. Okay, let's pivot. There's a huge opportunity here. How did Dr. Masudi translate this big idea into, tactical steps they can take tomorrow?
He provides a kind of litmus test for every business decision. It's called the Shared Emotional Motivation, or SCM, framework.
So it's 3 questions a practice has to answer before doing anything, basically?
Pretty much. Before launching a new treatment, buying a device, writing a social media post. Question 1. What frustrations are we solving?
And again, it has to be an emotional frustration.
Yes. You are not solving enlarged pores. You are solving the deep-seated frustration of avoiding close-up photos at family events.
Or feeling like you have to wear heavy foundation every single day.
That's the gold mine of motivation.
Question 2. How do people want to feel?
And specifics are critical here, not just happy.
It has to be more target.
Right. Is it confident enough to skip the makeup? Is it safe from social judgment? Is it finally in control of the aging process?
Which brings us to the third question, the convergence point.
What must our clinic do or say to deliver that specific feeling? So if your patients want to feel naturally confident, then your website cannot lead with leading center for aesthetic excellence.
It has to lead with something like your natural glow, scientifically perfected.
Exactly.
And speaking of things that derail that connection, the source material identifies these 5 killing habits. Let's start with the first, the About Us disease.
This is a classic. It's starting your homepage with the doctor's credentials, their alma mater, daughter, their publications.
Founded in 2015, Dr. Jones brings 2 decades experience.
Yeah, that. And the problem is, patients don't care about your story until they know you care about theirs. If their immediate worry isn't mirrored in the first 3 seconds, they're gone.
Okay, habit number 2, listing features without emotional benefits.
You can't just list product names like Botox or Dysport. You have to translate that technical feature into an emotional assurance.
Those instead of listing the product,
You guarantee the outcome. Something like, we'll find the formula that works perfectly with your unique facial movement. No frozen look ever. That speaks directly to their biggest fear.
habit 3, clinical only before and after photos. They only document the physical change.
Which is only half the story. The patient needs to see the emotional transformation.
So you pair the visual with testimonials.
Yes. Use quotes like, I finally stopped avoiding the camera at family events, or I feel like myself again, but better. That's what sells the feeling.
Habit 4 is a huge one for technical professionals. Hiding behind medical jargon.
It's so easy to do, but complexity creates anxiety, and anxiety kills desire.
So talking about platelet-rich plasma stimulating collagen synthesis.
You've already lost them. You're creating a barrier. Simplify it. Talk about the outcome. Your body's own healing power, guided to naturally erase years from your skin.
And finally, generic safety-first messaging. This one really bothers me because every clinic says they prioritize safety.
It's just expected. It's not a differentiator.
You'd have to show it.
You need to show concrete action, not just use a tagline. Prove safety emotionally. What does that look like? It means photographing the patient's face from 12 precise angles before any injectable.
Or having a specific doctor personally call every patient the evening after their treatment.
Those are the tacit rules that govern trust.
Those subtle cues are everything. We talked about the 3-second rule for the website, cook capturing that emotion immediately, but it extends to the sensory experience too.
Absolutely. Sensory storytelling is key. The sources noted that using a signature calming scent like lavender or vanilla in the waiting area can scientifically reduce patient cortisol levels by 15%.
You're literally selling relaxation and safety the second they walk through the door.
And even the consultation itself has to pivot. That transactional opening, what treatments are you interested in today?
It puts the patient on the defensive. It asks them to self-diagnose.
The emotional pivot is to ask, tell me about the last time you looked in the mirror and thought, I wish I could change this.
That immediately taps into their underlying emotional frustration. That's where the real buying decision is happening.
So if the focus shifts from technical features to emotional delivery, then the metrics, well, they have to follow. What should clinics start tracking?
And what should they start tracking in this new landscape?
We need to drop the vanity metrics.
Yeah.
Stop obsessing over social media follower counts or 5-star reviews that just say, the treatment worked.
We need to measure emotional impact directly.
The first new metric is what they call an emotional NPS. Instead of asking if they'd recommend you, you ask how they felt.
You give them options. Confident, understood, safe, anxious, rushed.
Right. And the target is 80% or more choosing those positive emotional words.
It's a huge shift.
It is. Number 2 is the emotion mention rate. You track what percentage of your reviews actively mention feelings, not just procedures. If your rate is below 50%, you're a vendor. The target should be 70% or higher.
And the third metric has serious financial teeth.
The comprehensive treatment acceptance rate. The study showed that patients with a deep emotional connection are 67% more likely to accept multi-plans.
So if a clinic's acceptance rate for those comprehensive plans is below 60%,
then the emotional value proposition is too.
and delivering on that emotional promise means personalizing the language based on patient psychology.
The source material breaks patients down into 4 main archetypes, recognizing that one message just can't appeal to all emotional buyers.
First, you have the perfectionist, about 25% of patients. They need control, precision.
So you use language like meticulous attention to symmetry and minute detail.
Then there's the largest segment, the natural enhancer, around 40%. They just desperately fear looking artificial.
For them, the language is all about subtlety. Whisper, not shout, or enhancing your inherent features.
The confident seeker is about 20%. They need empowerment, visible change.
Their language is all about transformation, that dramatic but natural improvement.
And finally, the wellness advocate at 15%. They link aesthetics to holistic health.
And their language needs to be focused on regenerative processes, natural stimulation, that kind of whole person wellness. This level of personalization is what creates creates devotion in today's market.
So what does this all mean when we bring it back to that ambitious practitioner? I think the primary lesson here is that the aesthetic industry's success is predictable.
It really is.
But the competitive edge, it isn't in technical skill or who has the newest device. It's in the ability to make the patient feel something powerful, specific, and positive.
The data is inescapable. I mean, the doctor who just lists procedures and specs will always be compared on price. But the doctor who understands that a request for lip filler is actually a deeper cry for, I want to feel attractive in photos again.
That's the doctor who will build a practice full of devoted, premium-paying patients.
And this commitment to deep emotional engagement is the competitive moat that, AI and technical advancements, they just can't replicate, at least not yet.
So if your communication is no longer about you, but is instead a direct, empathetic mirror of your patient's deepest aspirations, how will you ensure every single touch point from that first website scroll to the post-op follow-up truly makes them feel extraordinary? What is the one specific emotion you will guarantee your patients feel tomorrow?